Hey guys, welcome back to The Joy of Wrenching. My name's Les. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today I've got an interesting one. This is a 2008 Mercedes CLK350 or something like that. As you can see, it has a soft top or a convertible top. And the problem that it has, the customer or the owner of this car says that there's an oil leak, but it's not coming from the engine, it's coming from the back of the car. So I want to talk to you about when you see an oil leak on one of these convertible Mercedes from the back of your car, what does that mean and how do you fix it? So come along as we get into it. So what am I talking about when I say that there's an oil leak from the back of the car? Well, let me show you. So right down here behind the rear passenger wheel, we've got us a puddle forming. And if we look above that, hopefully I can get you good video here, you'll see that there is dripping coming down from this area right behind that passenger wheel. And this little drip tray here can be removed. And if you do so, you'll see that up above that drip tray, there's actually a drain, and it's coming out of this little drop down as part of the trunk. This one has a spare tire here, and sometimes these convertibles will leak this oil here out of the bottom of the trunk. And so you might see it in different places, but on this CLK, it's over here. So let's go ahead and pop the trunk. And let's take a look in here and see if we can figure out what's going on. So the trunk area of these cars here has these two side panels, and we can pull those out. I've already taken the little push pins and clips out of the way. We know that we've got a leak coming down from in here. And you see how wet and messy that is down in there? Well, if we follow that mess up, we see that we've got these pistons that control the convertible top. Now there are a number of these pistons all over the place. You'll see, some of them over here, some of them over there. So what you need to do is kind of look around in here and see if you can see where some hydraulic fluid or wetness is found. And in looking here, we've got some coming at the bottom of this piston right here. You can see it on my fingers there. So our problem is hydraulic fluid is leaking from at least this piston, maybe others, and we'll check that, and going down into this drop down portion of the trunk area, soaking that little pad that's, I guess, there probably to soak up some of these drips over time, but it's just too much, and it's soaking that pad and then dripping down out of the drain at the bottom of there and down onto the ground, and it looks like oil, and it technically isn't oil, but it's a clear hydraulic oil. If we look on this side over here, again, I've got the pins pulled out of these things to make them removable real easy. But if we look over here, you'll see the reservoir for that hydraulic fluid, and it's low, meaning that we've had a leak, and I've already even replaced some of that fluid there. You can see another one of these pistons over here, but if I put my hand at the bottom of this one's dry. It's not leaking. There was a leak here in the past, and you can see down there it's wet. So that's perhaps even leakage from somebody refilling this little reservoir. As you can see, the refilling port is here on the side, and it's kind of hard to get it in there without spilling sometimes. All right, so we've got a leak from the hydraulic cylinders associated with that convertible top in the back. And so you might say, well, okay, fine, we'll just replace the cylinder. Oh, no, not on these things. Look at this car. It's a beautiful 2008, well cared for Mercedes convertible with less than 100,000 miles on it. And you would think, man, that car's got to be worth a fortune. No, you can pick these things up for less than 10 grand in really good shape. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you, it's because the parts and labor to fix a European car like this, whether it's a Mercedes, Audi, VW, whatever, is astronomical. The parts, they charge for these parts like they're still going on a $100,000 car. And they're oftentimes there are only specialists that will work in shops on these European cars. And so they charge a premium as well. So this car, not being worth very much, can't really absorb the cost of taking it to a shop and having them replace those hydraulic cylinders, because that can go $2,000–$4,000 depending upon how many of those cylinders are replaced. They're really expensive. Even secondhand, they're really expensive. The car itself isn't worth that much, so you don't want to go throwing a bunch of money at it. But the car is still a really nice car, and you got a convertible. You want the top to go up and down, so what do? Well, I'll show you. We are going to fix the leak on the hydraulic cylinder for very inexpensive, and I'll show you exactly how. Don't be intimidated. You can do this at home. The parts are going to cost us not that much, and I'll show you where to get those parts, how to install them, how to fix, how to recharge the system, and how to prove that it's working. So let's get into that. All right, so we know that we've got a leak over here in this area, and so we might want to know, well, exactly where is it leaking from? And so what you can do is get yourself a light so that you'll have a good light on the subject in here. We kind of know that there's some wetness down around the bottom of this cylinder right here. So just set up your phone and turn on your video for your phone there, and then point it at the area that you want to see. Set her to video record mode, and we're going to go shut this trunk, and we're going to go actuate the top here. We'll turn our key to the on position, and then we'll come down here and we'll actuate our top if we can. And as I do so, it rolls down the windows, unlocks. You'll see the back end start lifting up. Let me see if I can show you. All right, there goes the top of the lid. So we'll just let it do its thing here, if it will. I'll go ahead and stop it actually, and I'm going to go back the other way and close this thing. Okay, so what we're doing is we're actuating those cylinders whichever way they'll go, as much as they will. Let me see if I can push this again. Okay, there we go. We're closing back down. All right, not quite there. Keep going. There we go. Everything's locking in place. All right, now we can go unlock our trunk, come back here, and then we can turn off our video recording and we can review that video. Go. All right, so reviewing our video, we see that we are leaking from this pressure relief valve area. There must be a seal inside of here that has failed. So that's what we need to replace on this side that is leaking to cure the loss of hydraulic fluid. And as you can see, we have lost even more hydraulic fluid just actuating the trunk lid a little bit, or the convertible top. So I'm going to put this absorbent mat down here so that it'll soak up any of those drips of hydraulic fluid that might happen as we actuate this thing again. So we're going to remove this piston here and rebuild it, because replacing it is very expensive. Now, in order to remove this piston, it looks like we're going to have a pin that goes through from the bottom, and I'll show you how that is held in place. There will be a similar pin at the top, and I'll show you how to get to that on this CLK. And then we've got these, there's a hydraulic hose that's held in with this little clamp type thing right here. And I'll show you how to remove that. There's one at the bottom, and there's also this one, if we follow it, goes up and comes together up here. So two hydraulic hoses, a pin at the bottom, a pin at the top, and we can remove this this piston. So let me get in here and show you how the lower portion of this piston is held in place. We got a pin that comes through from this side. It's got a little bungee cord on it, I guess, so it doesn't get lost or something like that. But it's clipped in place on this other side, which is really hard for me to show you, but hopefully we can get back here, by a little metal clip. And that metal clip needs to come off of this pin, and I'll show you how to get that thing released here. I may have to show you after I get it undone, but just because it's so hard to get back here with my tools and my hand and hold the camera at the same time. But I'll show you how that works. Okay, so I got the retaining clip removed off of our pin, and now you can just grab the little bungee cord and pin and slide it out of the hole. Now be careful, even though it looks like this bungee cord is holding onto this pin, the pin will easily come out of there and get lost. So just make sure that you don't lose this thing. Now let me show you how these two go together. Okay, so the pin is through the back side, obviously, and is held on with this clip, which slides over the top like so and locks in place. See how that thing is held in there? So in order to release it from the other side, and I couldn't show you this because my fat fingers would be in your way, you need to get your little screwdriver and set it under here and lift up on this portion right here, and then push up on the clip itself from the bottom, and then it will come off. And again, to get it back on, you just take it and slide it back through that little groove right there until it clips in place. Removal, just lift up on this tab right here with the screwdriver and push up, and off that will go. Okay, so the next piece that we want to remove from down here is going to be this lower hydraulic hose, and it's held in with this little metal tab right there. That metal tab has a little hole in it right here. See this pick that I'm putting in there in that hole. You want to get something like a pick into that hole and pry that metal tab away. It's kind of gripping onto the edges of this hydraulic hose. And as you pull this away, this metal tab will come loose, and then the hydraulic hose can pull out. Just be careful not to lose this tab. It is magnetic, and so what I'm going to do so I don't lose it while I pull it out is I'm going to put a magnet here that's going to grab it as I pull this back. All right, so I got my magnet here touching this thing. It's magnetic. I'm going to put my little pick in that hole there, and I'm going to pull this tab towards the inside here to unlock it. It's on there good. See if I can give it a little bit of leverage against. There we go. So I just put in there, I twisted it this way, leveraging against this round part right here of the retainer, and you can see that it just comes off out of these two grooves right there. Now once this little piece is loose here, you can go ahead and give it a little pull and a wiggle straight out to release the lower hydraulic hose. And our little bungee cord here fell down in our eyesight again. We'll tuck it up here out of the way someplace. All right, so that's the lower hose here, and we can take our little pin out again. I just put it back in to kind of hold the lower portion from flopping around. If it wanted to, you can just kind of line that hole back up with that lower portion there and slide the pin in just to hold it in place while you're messing around with these hydraulic hoses. But we're done down here, so I'll go ahead and remove that. And now that we're done at the bottom of the piston and it's released, we need to work on this upper hydraulic hose where it comes into the piston, and it too is retained in place by one of those little metal spring clips. And so we'll get our magnet so that we don't lose that little metal clip. We'll just put the magnet on there, and then we'll get our pick inside of the hole and try to wedge it free, just like we did the one on the bottom. And having the right size pick for this would be really important to do. Let me see if I can get a little bit bigger pick up in there. A little bit more leverage. Again, just enough of a head on it to get in that hole and try to wedge against. Sorry if you can't see real good. I can't either. I'm sure they'll give it a couple of loving bonks from the bottom here. Sorry, I knocked over my camera, but it looks like we removed the little clip, but I don't see it. So that's not good. My magnet wasn't able to grab it. Let's see, where did it go? I may have to go on a search for that thing, but regardless, we were able to release that retainer, and we can now wiggle and pull on our upper hydraulic hose, and it will come out as well. So now we have both hydraulic hoses released. The only thing left is going to be the pin at the top that retains this this cylinder. Okay, so let me show you how to get to the top of that cylinder. So there's two different ways you can do that. One, if you want to actuate, of course this will be before you take off all your hydraulic hoses, if you want to actuate the top and it still will, you can open up the tonneau cover here, and that will be extending that piston to open this cover, and then when the cover's halfway up, you can reach in there and get good access to it. But I think the way that I like better is to come back here and take this little panel and push it forward like that, and it'll stay in place. And then when you come under here, you'll see that you have access. Try to get some light in here, sorry guys. You've got access now to this upper portion of this piston. So it comes up through there, and this is the upper portion. And it is retained with the pin right here. In order to get that pin loose, all we have to do, let me see if I can do it with one hand and film at the same time. I'm trying to pull this thing down and out of your way. Okay, let me see if I can hold that. So we need to come back here, and this thing has got a clip around it. And so you want to get your fingers behind this clip and push it out. There we go. And you see how it flips up? Once it flips up like that, then you can take this pin and pull and wiggle it out. See, there's the pin. Just comes right out. And now the upper portion of our piston is released. Now that we have released the upper and the lower portion of this piston, and we have taken off the lower and upper hydraulic hoses, we can go ahead and just grab it, give it a little wiggle out, and then let it slide down and out of the car. And we'll go ahead and we'll just set it here on the ground for you to take. Okay, so the problem that we have with this thing is that we've got a leak behind. Come check it out real close here. We've got a leak behind this little valve. This pulls out to relieve pressure. You see how it's kind of squirting a little bit of oil out of that when I do this? Now, we need to remove this thing and replace the seal underneath there. Like I said, you don't want to replace the whole piston if you can just replace the seals in it, and you can. And there's a company here, MJ Products, right here, that will sell you parts, seals that you need to repair these cylinders on your Mercedes. They're really good. Go to their website here and just, you know, you can ask them questions about what you need, and they'll ask you some questions about what car you got and which cylinders you're working on. But let me show you how to replace the seals inside of this one. It's got these two little holes here, and we need to use those holes to turn this knob. Now, you could do it by hand if you grab it, but it'll probably booger up this plastic around here. I want to show you something that I found. I've seen people make tools to fit that, but basically anything that you can find where it'll fit into those two holes and allow you to rotate this, use it. And I found these Pittsburgh snap ring pliers that take different types of snap ring tips. I got these at Harbor Freight sometime in the past, and I noticed that when you take off the little different adjustable type of snap rings, you got these two little pins, and you can space those pins out so that they go into those holes like that. Now that they're in those holes, I can rotate this and loosen up this valve really easily. Look at that. Now check out inside of there. Hopefully you guys can see in there. You see all that blue crumbly stuff? Yeah, that's the seal that has failed and allowing all of the hydraulic fluid to leak out. You can see little chunks of that blue old seal there all over this piston. And that just goes in there like so. Let me go ahead and take this tool out of here, but boy, that works slick. So hopefully I can find a link, and I'll put it in the description for that. I'll also put links in the description to the MJ product kits, or at least their website, so you can get there. But yeah, this just goes in here and screws in place to seal this thing. And what we need to do is replace that seal. So let me get a pick and let's get this old seal out of here. All right, so I got a little light on the camera here, so hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Down inside of there is our seal. This was screwed in there, and as you can see, that seal is just falling apart. So I got a pick here, and we're just going to go in there and try to get under the edge of that seal and try and kind of wedge it or walk it out. There it goes. So there it is. And so this, see how that seal has like a groove in it? That groove goes towards the inside. This side was facing out. And so we've got a lot of this old seal, crusty old seal. You can see how it's busted all apart, and obvious why it was leaking right there. But you can try and take the dimensions of this and the dimensions of this piston here, but this company, MJ Products, has already done all of that work for us. And so you tell them what you're working on, and they will send you the seals you need. So here, really inexpensive too. So I highly recommend just skipping trying to do it yourself here as far as figuring out what you need, and just ask these guys and order what you need. It's really inexpensive. So let's compare what they sent us to what we have here. All right, there we go. So you can see that the outside diameter is the same. The inside diameter looks about the same. And you can see it's got that cup shape to it, and that goes towards the inside. So this will be towards the outside. And we can fit it on there. And that's a nice tight fit, but not too tight. So that's good. And let's go ahead and clean up this bore real good, get all this trash out of here, and then install our new seal. So I'm just going to start cleaning this stuff up just by, taking a rag. There's still hydraulic fluid in this piston, and so that kind of helps to wash out some of these plastic crumbly pieces. I want to try and get as much of that out as possible. It's not hard to get out of here. Just it's not stuck in there really, and it's not it's not gummy, anything like that. So just wiping it out with a rag here, and look how clean that came. So I'll do a little bit more, maybe try to get some of it out of these grooves of the threads. Maybe a different type of rag might work for that. But clean this up, clean this end up, and then we'll put the new seal in and see how that goes. I've got a microfiber towel here. I'm just going to try and get some of those little bitty tiny pieces that are down inside the threads. So I'm kind of threading this microfiber towel into those threads, and it's pulling out any of those little tiny bits of plastic, and that's really good and clean now. All right, so let's take our new seal, and you can put a little bit of hydraulic oil on it if you want. Of course, you've got some all over this thing by the time that you're working on it, and some of it leaking out of these ports here. So we'll just stick a little bit around the outside of it. And remember, you're going to have this cupped side that goes towards the inside, and then this crowned side here goes towards the outside. So we'll just set that in place. Just kind of push it in with your finger, nice and straight. Doesn't have to go all the way to the bottom, but it goes in pretty easy. And now let me clean this little bit of trash off of this side here, and then we'll slide this one in there. So we'll just go straight to the microfiber on this one. There we go. That didn't take much, did it? There we go. All right. Now we can set this in here, kind of give it a little wiggle and a push, and it'll slide right in. And then you want to start your threads like so, and then just snug it up. You can get your tool, whatever tool you either find or make. This works really good. Just snug it up. Doesn't have to be gorilla tight. There we go. All right. Now let's test that it still pulls out, and it does, and it retracts nice and easily, just like it did when we had the old part in there. So hopefully that will be nice and sealed up, and we can go ahead and try and reinstall this now. Okay, so let's go in with our repaired cylinder here. We'll just the way we came out, we'll slide this the upper portion in through the little hole and line it up with the bracket up top. And we'll take our little pin, which is over here somewhere. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Okay, we'll take our little pin. Once we've got the holes lined up here, we'll take our pin in there. We'll just slide it in place like that. And then you can go ahead and clip it on there like so. Now we'll come look down here at the bottom. And we're ready to install the lower portion of the piston, and we just slide that right back where it was, and we'll get our pin for there. Now remember this little tether, the pin goes through that and then goes into the hole here. I have to line that hole up a little better, get my hand out of your way so you can see. There we go. Okay, so now we have our lower pin in, our upper pin in, and now we can take our hydraulic hoses and we can plug those back in. You're not going to be able to see this upper one get plugged in, so I'll just show you the lower one. And just take it and you just point it straight down in there and then push it, and you'll feel it seat. Once it seats, that's as far as it's going to go. And that's when you take your retaining clip like that and reinstall the retaining clip. And remember, these things just slide back into the little slots that they slid out of, and you can push it home, maybe tap it with a little hammer or some. Let me get the little needle nose so I can show you installing this thing without my hand being in your way. There we go. I'm just grabbing it there. You can take it, slide it into the grooves that it came out of, and push it until it goes home. You may have to tap it home with a small hammer or something like that, but basically this goes straight into those grooves like that, and it'll lock in place. Okay, so we've got her reconnected here. We've got our lower hydraulic hose. We've got our upper hydraulic hose with the clips attached. We've got our lower pin down here, and we've got our upper pin right here attached, okay, and clipped up against the top of the piston. Now the last thing that we need to do is take our little retaining clip for the lower pin and slide it on to that lower pin. And so you see it's got that hole in this side, so facing down. We'll slide that over the top of the pin, and it will grab the groove on the end of the pin, and you'll hear it click in place when it's in its position. And I just pushed it down. Hopefully I can show you guys, maybe not, but basically we got that thing on there so that it won't come out anymore. All right, so we are ready to test our fix and see if we still have a leak here. So let's get the camera set up here for us to close the lid on the trunk and to actuate our pistons. We may need to add a little bit of hydraulic fluid. You can see that the hydraulic fluid there is below the minimum level. So we'll add some hydraulic fluid in order to test and purge the air out of the system. Okay, so let's go ahead and get ready to test our repair here. So I've got some hydraulic fluid for the convertible top hydraulic system. Mercedes Benz 343 is the type of fluid. You're going to have to get it from Mercedes Benz. You can find it online sometimes too, but it's really expensive. Like a quart or a liter in this case is about $50 in most cases. So you want to be real careful with this stuff. And so we're going to put it into our reservoir here. And so in order to refill our reservoir, at least up to the minimum max area, you got to remove this little plug, which is in this case a 13 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and loosen up this little plug, get it out of the way. There we go. And now I'm going to use a syringe to suck up some of this fluid into a syringe. And then I've got a little hose on my syringe that I can then stick inside of my reservoir and inject some of this fluid. And we'll just continue doing this until our fluid level is within spec. So, all right, there we are at the max level. So I'll go ahead and put my little plug back in. I like to start these things by hand because you're threading a brass plug into a plastic container, and so you want to make sure that you don't get this cross-threaded. And it's got a little O-ring on it. We'll snug it up just a little bit, not too tight. And now we'll go ahead and set up our camera over here on our repaired part, and we'll put a little something underneath there to catch any drips, and we'll go ahead and video the actuation of that part and make sure that we don't have any new leaks. All right, so let me show you what we got set up here. Our repair has been done to this seal inside of this valve right here. And so remember beforehand it was just pouring fluid out the bottom of this thing. So I've got a little absorbent mat here. That way if anything drips down, we'll be able to see that. I've got the camera set up here, and we're going to video record this area while we actuate the top to see if we got any leaks. Before we can actuate the top, we have to take this panel that we folded up right here so that we could get to the upper portion of our piston. We have to take this panel and pull it down back into this position, okay? So if this panel is in your car and you got it pushed up, the top won't move. Make sure this is down. All right, we'll hit record. All right, now we can close our trunk lid. Let's go back to the car, turn on the car to the on position, and now we'll actuate our top. Windows are moving, that's a good sign. All right, there goes the back of the top. Next will be the tonneau cover coming up. There we go. Let's go ahead and stop just for a second and take a look. And again, the piston that we worked on is this guy right here, okay? So this piston is moving, or at least it's being moved by that piston, but in all likelihood it is moving like it should, and this just helps to lift this tonneau cover up and down. So what I'm going to do, because we worked on this piston and this is all that we care about looking to see if we got a leak on, is I'm going to move this tonneau cover up and down a couple of times. That way we're moving fluid through that piston that we worked on. And we're videotaping this thing, so we're going to go down. We'll see any leaks if there are any down there. Go ahead and go back up with it. Again, we're just moving the piston that we worked on. If you work on a different piston, make sure you move that part of the system. I'm going to go ahead and close this so that I can open the trunk and get to my video and have a look and see what happened. All right, let's go see what looks like we've got. Okay, so come look right here. So here's our little absorbent mat. So if anything was going to leak, it would have dripped onto this mat. And I don't see any drops, so that's a good sign. This is dry, so that's good. And of course, we got our video here. We'll turn that off and we'll review that video. But it looks like we have good repair here. So. and we refilled our reservoir before we actuated this top, and it looks like it drank down maybe just a little bit, displacing whatever air was in there. And it's a little bit frothy, a little bit of air bubbles there on top of the fluid, but that'll dissipate. I may put just a little bit more in here just so that it's sort of closer to the midline filled, and we can put the panels all back in here and call this a good repair. Well, we don't have a leak back there from our piston that we've repaired, so that's great news. But before I call it done, let's go ahead and actuate the top the full way, because I was just really actuating that tonneau cover, which is the part we were working on. So let's go ahead and make sure that this convertible top works completely. Let's open her up. Down go the windows. Hear it unlocking. Things are moving along. That's good. Okay. There she goes. Folding up, folding down. Tonneau cover comes back down. There we go. Okay. So everything seems to have gone swimmingly, as they say. So that looks good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and actuate it to close it back up. Okay, tonneau cover is doing its job. That's good. There we go. Okay. Hear things locking up here. Windows are moving. I'll go ahead and let them move on up. Okay, everything stopped. And everything looks the part. So I'm going to say we're good. Excellent. All right, so the top worked great. We don't have any more leaks. Man, I am feeling good about that. Only thing really left is to put these little panels back in that we had to remove to get to these side panels of the trunk. I'm not going to bore you with that process. I want to thank you guys for this. I hope it helps you out. You can just rebuild these pistons for pennies on the dollar, really. I'll put links in the description to the company that I got my seals from. They were really helpful. They'll help you as well. Just hit them up, ask them what you need. They'll send it to you. It takes a couple days, and you can save thousands of dollars. These cars, they're not terribly expensive. We need to keep them on the road as long as we can, and saving all of that money goes a long way. Thank you guys for your time today. Have a wonderful week, and God bless.